Hello, everyone, and welcome to Harbor Time Strategy Talks. I'm your host, Colin Harbor. It's another exciting day, and I'm glad you're watching and listening. As I mentioned in the previous episode, I took a few weeks off from Harbor Time Strategy Talks, but we are now in episode 29, and I'm very excited about that. But I failed to mention when I came back last time that when I took a few weeks off, something great happened, something known as the Baylor Bears winning a national championship. So I wanted to give a shout out to the Baylor Bears. I should say the Baylor Men's Bears, as the women's program had already won several national championships. But we're very proud of our Baylor Bears. Thank you, Scott Drew. Thank you to all the players. We wish you the best of luck and hope you have great professional careers wherever you may land, or other types of careers. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share the podcast with others. Your feedback is always very much appreciated. We're going to go ahead and get started today, and I'm going to introduce a couple of people. Rob Dewald and Erika Garcia. They are with Precedent Management. We'll talk a little bit about what Precedent does in just a minute. Rob is the founder and CEO of Precedent, and Erika is the COO and managing partner of Precedent. So we've got strategic people, strategic ideas that we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about pivoting. We'll talk about maybe getting through the pandemic, personal development. We're going to cover a lot of topics. Hey, Rob. Hey, Erika. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Well, how are you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing good. As you can tell, I'm still excited about the Baylor Bears. And when I recorded my previous episode, I forgot to mention it. So I'm sure everybody lost a lot of sleep over that, but I'm glad I got it out of the way. Let's talk a little bit about Precedent Management. What does Precedent Management do, and when did the company begin?
Well, Precedent Management was established in 2016. What we do is component servicing. Those components are risk mitigation, accounting. We do HOAs, taxes, code violation. We do a lot of data management. Now, in saying that, we've been working together since 2010.
Okay.
Right at the peak of that 2008 downturn. So we've been able to grab this niche in the HOA world and run with it. We do a whole bunch of other things, like I had previously mentioned, the taxes and the code violations and lien management. But our forte, what we do best out of everything, is HOAs. And that's one of the things that has brought us together today and has kept us strong going since 2016.
When I got into the default mortgage servicing industry 10 years ago, it was during I started in 2010 at a company. And so it was definitely when things were starting to peak. Like when you said that you guys started, I had no idea what went into mortgage servicing, much less mortgage default servicing. And, you know, it's an unfortunate set of events in a lot of cases, but sometimes it just happens, and mortgage servicers have to outsource their services. And there's companies like Precedent, companies like other companies that I've worked for in the past, who provide services to large mortgage companies, small mortgage companies, mortgage servicers, as well as the investors, and as well as Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Let's make a little bit of a strategic plug for Precedent. How do you differ from the larger component servicing? So when we talk about component servicing, we're talking about sections of the process or parts of the process. How do you differ from companies that are AI and data driven? What makes you different?
No, definitely. Great question. Yeah, I mean, we've been in this industry for a while, and we do service, the lenders, the large mortgage servicers, the title companies. And we do know that there are large companies out there, our competitors, that are AI data driven. But one thing that we do that we believe they might lack more on is we have that human component. We do have a lot of data driven elements here that we use technology for, of course, but we're able to get someone on the phone, contact them, make sure that we have all the correct information, and we're just not retrieving that from online services. Yeah. We have the people here that get on the phone, talk to the HOA representatives, the tax entities, making sure that all the liens and municipal codes are cured, right? So that is something that I believe we do well in. that our larger AI data-driven companies may just give you a script or an Excel sheet that has all that information, but not necessarily have that curative portion.
High touch.
High touch.
High touch, yeah, no, I get you. That service level still exists, right? People still want a human touch. I get there's costs sometimes. I get that some things may be better automated. My guest last week actually is an AI company. It's a marketing AI company. So they do social posts out of your blogs and out of your videos, and they use AI to drive that. But even that company, even what you're talking about here, Erika and Rob, is that high touch, that customer touch,
Correct.
making the customer feel like they're important, letting them know that you are taking care of them and that they're not just some data pushing through a system.
And as much as the industry is pushing towards that, it kind of balances out with that need for that high touch, customer service.
Yeah,
Sure.
that hybrid of, automation and human touch. That high touch is prudent, especially today.
Becomes more prudent.
Correct.
So you talk about high touch, you talk about servicing your clients, you talk about doing things. So what does it mean when we've talked about it as we've met, what does it mean to preserve your client's first priority interest?
Yeah, so while we were developing this program in 2010, it got more and more critical in order to handle these HOAs, taxes, and things like that, because as they slipped through the cracks, the other entities, the associations, the condo associations, homeowners associations, started gaining more power.
Yep.
Especially in certain states like Nevada, DC, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, where they can literally foreclose out the first mortgage. That was unprecedented, really. So as that came more and more critical, the driving force wasn't just to pay the bill so that it can close or it can foreclose. It wasn't just, it was literally to save that first lien position. So the job got more and more critical. And that attitude kind of spread out to the states. You had safe harbor, where if you didn't foreclose properly, maybe you didn't lose the lien, but you lost a ton of money in that. If you were to go back in something like the state of Florida, rather than only having to pay a certain part, maybe a year's worth of assessments, it would go back to the beginning of time.
Correct. Whatever wasn't paid from the past.
Yeah. So our knowledge on that and the concept, honestly, we update that once or twice a year on all those statutes that dictate all those. I mean, every state, you have to have that knowledge at the fingertips. And our staff has to be trained on it so they know how to negotiate it properly. And it makes, even if it gets out of our hands and has to go to an attorney, all the communication that's kept track, it's detailed, it has to be done in a proper manner so they have the tools and the information to go forward and again, protect that first lien position.
Sounds like you spent a lot of time, like you said, there's 50 states. There's a lot of different statutes. There's a lot of different laws. They change all the time. So you have to monitor that and keep that updated. And I was wondering precedent. So maybe when you said unprecedented, I saw that from Erika. So maybe that is where the name came from. Wherever it came from, it's a good name. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, it came, we were having a conversation when we were first starting and we were saying, well, what do we want to do? How we're going to, what's our goal? And and Erika said, well, we really want to set the bar. We want to set the precedent.
Yeah.
And I said, that's it.
There you go.
That was it.
So we've talked a little bit about your business, how you serve the mortgage servicing industry generally. But now we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is pivoting. Are you planning, or, we talked the other day about COVID and obviously that changed everybody's lives and everybody's business for a while. So did you pivot? Are you planning any pivots? Do you, as a business, you got to constantly be thinking. So any pivots in the future or have already happened?
Yeah. Well, we did. So as the foreclosure moratorium hit from the pandemic,
Yeah.
obviously a lot of our we have other business, but a lot of our business is default business. That obviously, shut that part of it down. No new inventory is coming in. So as we went forward, we were like, okay, well, what else can we do? This is a good time to expand our services. Start rethinking not only what we can do in the mortgage servicing world, but also in the rest of it, right? I mean,
Correct.
diversification in business is
I
critical.
mean, there's other industries besides mortgage and default,
Exactly.
mortgage servicing and default servicing.
We've been in it for so long, we sometimes
just
forget
recently
about
found out, right? We're
I
like,
know.
oh wow, there's other industries. Had no
Yeah.
idea.
I know, it's amazing, right?
We were surprised. So, one of the advantages that we had when we started this company, the company that we used to work for, the owners retired. They were closing their doors. Erica and I approached them with buying their book of business. It was, the programs that we created for exactly this. We were the faces of the contracts. So we went to them and purchased their book of business, but also, parts of the infrastructure. So we came out of the pretty well set up. We've obviously had to update and adapt.
Yeah.
But it's been a huge advantage to have a infrastructure as stout as the one that we have, including the experience of the operators, accounting, operations, all of those things.
I see.
IT, having an accounting software set up, having IT and
Our proprietary system.
our
internally.
proprietary system.
Mhm.
We have data. We have
You already
data.
have technology, you've already got people, you've already got IT
Set
infrastructure,
up.
you've got the accounting infrastructure, things that people need when they're starting a business, right? Or
Correct.
Precisely.
in business.
So we thought that would be an excellent way to help, current people who had an existing business that can't expand because they don't have that infrastructure, or that's limiting to them that how much farther they can expand, or they just don't want to spend the money, the capital investment of saying, okay, I need all this stuff, but I don't want to, put all that money out, or a new entrepreneur that has a business that they're ready to take off on, but they need to do all these things, or they don't know.
Or they don't
right?
have the knowledge of it, right?
So
Definitely.
that's where we're going. That's how we're pivoting. We're offering our infrastructure, accounting, IT, data, all the things that we have set for when we acquired and built up over the past 6 years, of and offering those to other companies. Yep. To advance their sales and their business.
Yeah, so that's great because, we were going to talk a little bit about back office, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, as a small business owner who wants to grow, one of the biggest issues obviously is capital, right? Or people, or God, just don't have the expertise in back office or IT process, IT management or whatever the case may be. So
HR alone, right?
Yeah.
So to be able to take your existing business and carve out a new service line, pivoting, like I said, like we talked about the other day, pivoting is my favorite word. But to be able to carve that out, that's something for other business owners to be thinking about is what can you do with your current business to find other revenue sources, other ways to grow your business. And as an entrepreneur, they always have to be thinking about that. So he or she should think, hey, do I have something that is marketable to another company? It more than likely is. If you use it, then another company probably needs it. So how do you proportion it, or how do you sell it? That's a whole different issue. That might be a whole other podcast we could talk about sometime. So it sounds like the pivoting and the strategic business decision to make that change came about over the last 12 years. Then specifically, maybe another moment for a little plug for Precedent. Why back office with Precedent Management as opposed to offshoring?
Yeah, and that was where a lot of it seems like there was a lot of advertisement for going offshore.
Yeah.
That there's a cost savings there, but there's, again, going back to customer service,
That human touch.
that human touch where
on site in the nation.
right, one of the things that one of our large clients use us for is to get a payment out, right? So the large entities have a hard time getting checkout within a couple of days. We do it same day, next day. If you need a certified check, we can get that out same day, next day, overnight, all these things. Having the talent here in the United States, obviously it's also American jobs. We're very proud to have that as well. But again, that customer service where we're on the we're in the same time frame. We're in the same, area. Almost all of our staff is multilingual, but English is their primary language. So, it's a lot of those advantages for a small premium to be able to have that here in the United States. I think most small companies and even mid-sized companies appreciate that.
You talk about getting a check out for a large company can take a lot. If anybody doesn't believe that, submit an invoice for services to a larger company and see how long it takes you to get paid.
Definitely.
I'm not calling any specific company out. I'm just saying there are processes that they go through. There are approvals. There are approvals upon. So yeah, being able to expedite the services that they're providing to their customers or clients or vendors.
Some of our largest clients, which are multi-billion-dollar entities,
right?
We literally will get a phone call and go, we had one where it was a code compliance in New York City, right? Where if they didn't have the check by that Friday, and it had to be a certified check for it was like $95,000.
Yeah, it was close to 100K.
It had to, and they called us on Wednesday. So
and by the way, it wasn't even part of our contract.
No,
that
it was
wasn't
a
in our
different
scope of work. It was for a completely different service.
It was for a different contract, and their vendor couldn't do it.
No, they couldn't.
So they called us and said, "Can you get us a checkup?" Yeah, of course, we'll get that out. And we literally had to go to the bank, get the check, overnight it to the proper entity, because if they didn't get it by like 10 o'clock on that Friday, they were going to be subject to another $50,000 a month.
Yeah. You have things like that. And then also you have our ITI department, which a lot of the times, offshore companies or larger American-based companies, they use these systems that they're third-party systems, right? They buy these systems. So to have to integrate something in or customize some type of reporting can take months. You put in a ticket to get that done. We get that done internally in days, sometimes depending on that request in minutes. So that definitely sets us apart from our offshore competitors.
So there's two key points that I think I could pull out of that. One of them is the speed to get things done, right? And if you're able to effectively, correctly, ethically fill in the blank to get something done, a process done quicker than others, strategically, you're adding value to your client. But then also, Erika, you said something. You said, or Rob, maybe both of you said it, that this particular item wasn't even in our contract, but we provided this service as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a small business, particularly, or even small to mid-sized business. People need to think about are you willing to go above and beyond for your clients, or are you going to live by the scope, the SOW, or do clients know when they need something done, they can call you and you find a way to get it done? And I think that's a good way to grow a business. It's a good way to get a great reputation as a service provider, as a vendor. And those are things that business owners need to be thinking about strategically. You've got to have the flexibility. You've got to be willing to move. You don't know when the opportunity may present itself, and you don't know what other doors it may open up, quite frankly.
If your client gets into the habit of asking you to help them with something, even if it's something, a favor, right? They're going to be, you're going to be the first one on their mind when they have something, or a new contract or a new service. So that, hey, Rob and Erika, they got that done for us. They didn't even ask us for something.
Correct.
So now that we have that relationship where they're going to come to us and say, hey, can you do this? Even if you have to do it more than once, you're going to have to do it.
We did that at the company I used to work at, in this industry, where, a large bank mortgage servicer would call and say, hey, can you process this form for us now? Well, we were in the hazard claims industry, but we'd say yes. We'd say yes, right? And we'd figure out a way to process it. And it always ended up, they were always appreciative of it. And it always ended up getting us a little bit more allocation of our core business, right? Yep. When they redid the contracts, or if they did a future RFP, or if I think that was in their mind, hey, this company stood up for us. These guys stood up for us when we needed it. We're going to give them 70% of the business now, 80% of the business now, or whatever the case may be. So it's definitely the right mindset to be in as a business owner, as you're providing services to your clients.
Definitely. I mean, and one thing that we do is build on relationships.
Yep.
And not only with our clients, I mean, our employees, we've had the same core group of employees from when we started in 2016. We started with 15 of us, and we still have them with us. And a lot of them, we've been working together since 2010. So it's building on those relationships, not only with your clients, but with your employees.
With your team.
Yeah. Having a good culture, having good relationships.
Of course.
That was another thing that happened during the pandemic, that we took account of. As everybody, we quickly had to turn to remote working like everybody else,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
So shout out to our IT team who got everybody set up, got the portal set up. It wasn't flawless, but it was as good as you could ever expect. It's such a short time frame. We did it within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And got everybody up and running at their homes. And then, as it went on, we were constantly we were speaking to them on a daily basis, but then Erika and I, spoke to everyone individually, find out how they're doing, how their families were, and everything like that.
Sometimes that's missing in companies. They don't even take the time to just find out how people are doing.
And then we did the conversations that we had with,
hybrid.
How's it, how are you feeling about this? Are you still good? And, how is it? And everyone's response really was, how appreciative they were about how we were treating them. And for Erika and I was, well, yeah, just it was, but it's the point on it was everyone recognized it.
Yeah.
It's
culture,
some really wonderful things.
And having a great culture and making people feel like, I don't know, human beings, as opposed to a number.
A number,
on your payroll sheet, right? Very important, as I've always thought that was important. And I think more and more companies are thinking that way. Let's talk about leadership development. Maybe you two individually talked about pivoting. Well, in your life and in your professional life, as you're developing, you have to stay on top of things. How do you continue to learn and stay on top of things while you're running a business, while you may have whatever going on, personal lives and all the other stuff? How do you stay on top of things and continue to sharpen yourself as a business leader?
A lot of it has to do with experience of walking down whatever path you choose and tripping and getting up and dusting yourself off, and learning, hey, I'm not going to step over there anymore, or it wasn't worth the risk to go down that other path. And, so a lot of that's experience. And I think, one of the things that Erika and I both try to do is stay as completely in touch with the industry as we can.
Yes.
Not only through publications and news and such, but also, keeping in contact with industry friends and colleagues. And, we're friendly with most of our competitors too. So, I think that a lot of that is keeping your finger on the pulse. The first thing I think both of us do every day, we're always constantly exchanging articles.
I know it's sometimes a bad habit.
Right.
I mean, I'll be sending out an email at 6 o'clock in the morning, and People are like, why,
I don't think that's
why are you
enough.
awake?
That's
Why are you
enough.
doing this? And I literally wake up and I'm just reading about our industry news. You know, prior to the pandemic, we would attend every single in-person conference. We would be present. We would take these classes just to get a little bit more knowledge on what's happening. But because of this pandemic, we've had to shift like everyone, you know, the webinars, being on top of that. We go through the MBA because we were affiliated with them prior to the pandemic to see, you know, what's going on? What can we learn? What are the classes? And then not only that, of course, like Rob was talking about, we read these articles every day and we're sharing it every morning. And we're even doing that to help our team. The other day I walked into the office and I said, you know, we're going to put mortgage industry updates on the board. That way, when people come in, they know what's going on too. You know, just putting it up there, making sure everyone is up and in the know, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a great idea to also develop your staff and to keep them informed of, hey, you're not just processing a widget, but we're in an industry and there's stuff going on. You know, I know you probably subscribe to some of the same things that I do. We get the same emails and I do Google alerts, but yeah, Mortgage MBA, Mortgage Bankers Association, those are all great resources. I saw where y'all are going to be at a conference next week, I think on LinkedIn. That's in Dallas. I think I'm going to go down there. So maybe I'll bump.
Hey, awesome.
Great.
I'm in Dallas. So yeah, it's just, you know, it's right down the road from me, but I am extremely happy that we're able to do that now, that we're able to start doing these things. So I'm excited about that. I'm ready to hit the road again, quite frankly, and talk to people. I understand why, you know, and I understand you have to be cautious. I'm not making any statements here. I'm just saying I personally am ready to be face to face with some people. Someone wants to get in touch with you. What's the best way to do it? Someone wants to hire you. Someone wants to send you an email about something for you to read at 6 o'clock in the morning, Erika. How do they get in touch?
Well, they can always come to us at info@precedentmgmt.com.
Okay.
Or they can go ahead and on our website, they will have our direct lines, which is www.precedentmgmt.com.
So that's Precedent. If you're listening, it's PRECEDENTMGMT.com, right?
Got it.
Right. Okay. Well, I was reading it behind your head, so that helped that it was right there as I was trying to read it. There we go. So now they can see it on video.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. Hey, there's nothing wrong with shameless plugs. I guarantee you that, particularly now. Well, I want to thank you both for joining me today and for providing information about Precedent, but then B, just useful information for business owners who are thinking about pivoting. Why pivot? Is there even a reason to pivot? Should I just fold up shop versus pivoting? I mean, there's so many issues that are going through companies' heads right now, business owners, particularly small to mid-sized businesses as they're looking to grow, or maybe their industry is down a little bit, so they're looking at other opportunities. And I think the information you provided about pivoting, taking your existing infrastructure that serves a specific industry and saying, hey, how do we, whether it's fractionalize or whether it's, sell these services to other industries and other businesses is a great lesson. I wish you a lot of success on that. And it's a great lesson. It's a great venture, and it's a great test in entrepreneurship, if you will. So entrepreneurship, I said it wrong. I always say entrepreneurship wrong. And I knew I was going to. So thank you. Thank you for joining us today. And I hope I see you guys next week in Dallas.
We hope so too.
And if not, then I will see you sometime soon. Thank you everybody for listening. Once again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, or comment, provide any feedback, and you can always share it with others. So thank you for joining Harbor Time Strategy Talks, and talk to you soon.
Bye.